Thank you so much for joining us today. As we started planning this a few months ago, we weren't sure how things would come together. Obviously needed to look at a different venue and different things. I think we now hold the record for the most tables ever at a CRU function, so that's pretty stunning. But thank you for voting with your feet and being here with us this morning. It's a great encouragement. Thank you so much, Simon, again for your address to us. I found that hugely encouraging. Hope you did as well, that sense of the value of connection and people being faithful and living as followers of Jesus and sharing that good news and the way that God uses that to build his kingdom is such an encouragement. Thank you also to James for introducing us. James started with a theory that he didn't have grey hair because he'd been on lots of CRU camps. I'm getting less and less grey hair, so maybe it adds up, but thank you. But again, thank you so much for being here. They say that great speeches typically start with a dream, often feature a dream. So I have a dream, said Martin Luther King, Washington DC, 1963. I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will live in a nation where they're not judged by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character. I had a dream, said Raffaello Carboni at Eureka Stockade back in 1855. I had a dream, he said, that we had met here together to give thanks to our Father in heaven. Great speeches often begin with a dream. So, this may not be a great speech. I want to start not with a dream, but with a nightmare. It's risky, I know, and I hope you're still enjoying your breakfast. But stay with me, because it is the stuff of nightmares, isn't it? That sense of being trapped in a situation where there's nothing of substance, that you're trying to hold on to something and grasp onto it and hold onto it for protection, but it just kind of vanishes, turns to dust within your fingers. That you're hearing voices coming at you from all sorts of different areas, but you're not quite sure which one has value, which one to hold on to. You can't work out which way to turn. It's a nightmare when that happens. It's a nightmare, but it's a real experience for too many of our young people. How do they navigate their way successfully during a time of rapid change and uncertainty? Well, some try to numb the pain with alcohol. Others just invest in Netflix. Others look in managing their image but struggle to cope with the reality when the layers get peeled back. Sexual promiscuity is pursued by some but doesn't bring contentment. We find our young people are wrestling and longing for deeper relationships. And you could have said that exactly 12 months ago, before the onslaught of COVID. Add all the layers that this year has brought. On top of all those concerns I just mentioned, many have told us this year that they feel far more isolated than ever before. Senior high students in particular have spoken to us of that feeling that everything they were looking forward to has been snatched away from them. That sense of pain. Powderfinger's song still applies. This life, well, it's slipping right through my hands. These days turned out nothing like I had planned. How do we get to that point? Well, in a sense, there's nothing new. There have been plagues before. There have been times of great sickness. There's been disruption. And frankly, American politics has often been scary. People throughout history have looked in the wrong places again and again to try and find meaning in life. But in another sense now, the rate of change, the degree of uncertainty, the depth of despair is at a higher level than ever before. Amongst our teens, as Simon mentioned, we're seeing rising rates of suicide, of mental illness, of inability to cope, even though more resources than ever before are being allocated to these areas. And none of those stories, none of those numbers are just a number, are they? They're not just a statistic. Each one is an individual in despair. How do we get here? What's happened? Well, there's certainly been a change over the decades. Just down the road from Crusaders' office at Eastwood, there's a great church, Eastwood Anglican Church, great church which celebrated its centenary in 2007. As you look through the history from that church, you can see photos from the 1960s. In 1960, when Australia's population was only about 2/5 of what it is now, there were 700 children attending Eastwood Church of England Sunday School. 700. There's less than a tenth of that today. And that story is repeated through so many suburbs throughout our city, throughout our country. Maybe you know it in your church's youth group or kids program. Now, some could just look at the statistics and we could think wistfully of halcyon days, could think of other times, maybe we could trace the historical currents that contributed to it. But I think far more valuable, far more important, is that we take the chance now to reach the kids who aren't in the Sunday schools, to befriend the kids who aren't in the youth groups, to reach out and engage and establish those kids on a firm foundation of faith. Let's be clear, times are tricky, but the Bible speaks of an inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade. It's been won through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, not through our efforts. So our hope in that can be certain, unwavering hope, because it's based on the completed work of Jesus Christ. That's the good news that Crusaders is committed to sharing. That's what CRU is all about. With your help, we've been connecting with an increasing number of school children. Back in 2000, we were reaching some 20,000 kids around Sydney and broader into the state. 10 years ago, that had increased to 54,000. Last year, we met with over 100,000. Your support and support of others who are involved in encouraging this ministry has made all the difference to that. But what about this year, I hear you asking? What's happened this year? Haven't you basically shut down ministry? Well, at one stage it looked like that would certainly be the case. But I'm so thankful for the perseverance and commitment of CRU's staff and volunteers, for the work of our board, for the way people got involved. When schools closed and we couldn't do camps or school visits for a period, our staff put up their hands to go and work in aged care, where additional support was needed. And they witnessed as they cared for the elderly. Our kitchens provided 5,800 meals for those in need in the Lake Macquarie region. At the same time, our staff are working on preparing resources, digital resources to support students in schools, and worked on plans to restart camps, engaging with the health department to work out how this could be done. That meant that in winter this year, we were the first to recommence residential holiday camps and to receive favourable reviews from New South Wales Health. There might have only been 570 campers on camp with us over winter, but there were 570 campers with us over winter. What an incredible thing to take place. And what a response. Campers and parents describe their CRU camp as a beacon of light in a dark year, a shining hope, a source of strength. Something that made all the difference. Olive said, "This was just much better than anything else I've been doing." Grace from Year 12 wrote, "The leaders were so open to chat and willing to answer any question that I raised." Praise God that through the Spirit's work we saw campers come to faith. we saw some start going to church. Some crew groups have struggled under COVID-19 as schools have adapted things, but others have absolutely flourished. Our staff in this last term connected with schools with visits over 100 times. At one Sydney school, just over a third of the whole school has been attending crew group. And now we stand on the cusp of something more. There will be challenges ahead, particularly in the short term, but the redevelopment of our Lake Macquarie campsite is opening doors, literally, as well as figuratively. Last year, Lake Mac was visited by approximately 4,200 campers. With the site now open, we already have 12,000 campers booked for the next year. When we complete the redevelopment, we're looking to reach even more. On top of that, our first full-time worker has started in Perth. We ran 2 camps there these last holidays, one for the very first time, the other 20% bigger than what it was a year earlier. Your support is propelling our ministry forward. Now, last year's breakfast, we looked for funding to enable those things to happen. And you provided great support. We raised $75,000 last year to fund that ministry. I'm urging us to hit that same target this year. Shortly, I'll ask each person to consider a tax-deductible gift of $420. Apparently, that could buy you 1 share in Tesla. But investing in our world, as we know, is risky. Investing in eternity is not. So why support CRU? Well, because it's strategic. National Church Life Survey continues to show that around 80% of Australia's adult Christians have come to faith before the age of 18. Investing in reaching kids is crucial. The same surveys demonstrate the importance of Christian camps, with 75% of Australia's under 20s saying that a Christian camp was very important in their faith decision. I'm sure there are many in this room who would say that was the case for them. I'm one of them. Last year, we witnessed 907 campers indicate a new faith commitment while on a crew camp. And that's the ones we know about. And it's not surprising that this triggers growth in other areas. 2,598 kids on crew camps last year indicated that they wanted to start attending a church or a youth group as a result of their camp. In Stuart Piggin's History of Christianity in Australia, he refers to the growth of the EU in the university being fuelled by Crusaders' work in schools. That was Howard Guinness's vision when Crusaders were started in 1930, reaching the schools as a key step, vital step to reaching the rest of our society. Crew camps and crew school groups give immediate access to multi-generational connections and shared purposes. They foster a hope that perseveres in spite of challenge. We're going to have a look at the video in a second. It's a reminder that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today and forever. He is the one who continues to be at work. Now, I should point out that the footage from this video was shot pre-COVID. So those of you with a highly developed social distancing radar, chill.
Students are finding it increasingly tough to stand up for their faith at school.
We live in a society marked by increased anxiety, fragile relationships, and a lust for new stuff that can never satisfy. It's not surprising when foundational Christian truth is being ignored. That's why Crusaders ministry is so important. With your help last year, around 100,000 young people were reached on camps and in schools with the unwavering hope of the gospel. A hope that does satisfy. On camps alone, over 900 campers made a faith commitment in the past year.
The number of kids who go to church is in decline, but the numbers attending crew holiday camps are growing. Kids come for fun activities and hundreds leave with a newfound faith. Let's meet some of them.
This is my first crew camp. I've come here with my friend because my mother kind of made me come. It's been actually really great. I've learned so much about God and Jesus, and I come from a non-Christian family, so I didn't really know anything about that before I came on this camp. Now I'm a Christian, which I'm quite excited about. When I get home from camp, I'm hoping that I will be able to go along to a youth group or church to learn more about God.
The leaders this year are amazing. They're kind, they're caring, and they're just fun to be around.
I was on a Year 12 study camp. I had gone on the camp completely uninterested in the whole thing. And then over the progression of the week, I was hearing more and more of these talks about how this God loved you. And so it was the last day of camp when the leader gave this final talk. He quoted C.S. Lewis and said, "Christianity, if true, is the most important thing. What if I have it wrong? What if it is true?" I realized that Christianity was true and real. There was this God and he loved me. And that's when I became Christian. Found a church. My leaders helped me find that too. And I have been going to the same church ever since.
CRU holiday camps are reaching thousands of kids every year with the hope that can only be found in Jesus. Thank you for your part in this.
CRU educational camps are an amazing outreach opportunity because they are run for an entire school year group during school term time. Last year, 9,047 students attended, the vast majority of whom came from non-church attending families.
When it comes to sharing their Christian faith and their Christian values with the campers, the CRU leaders do it in very natural ways. They're brilliant.
I was on a Year 8 camp earlier this year and I met a guy called Diesel. Diesel, he was a legend. He was a non-Christian when he came on camp and we seemed to click really well. Throughout the whole camp, Diesel was really questioning me and questioning who God was and what he'd done for him. At the end of camp, Diesel came to me and he said, "Tim, I'd love to become a Christian." It was super awesome to be able to talk through that process with Diesel and figure out what that meant for his life.
Thank you so much for your ongoing support. With your help, many students from non-Christian families are hearing about the love and hope Jesus offers.
Last year, CRU Schools ministry staff reached 89,000 students on school visits. Being a Christian at school is getting tougher, but CRU lunchtime groups provide a community where students can be discipled and encouraged in their faith. And for many from non-Christian homes, it is their church.
Because of my parents' job, I don't get to go to church. Well, my favourite thing about CRU is probably just like spending time with all of the Year 3 and 4ers and getting to know them a bit better, and then leading the games and doing a talk.
Every now and then, in all the chaos and the throwing of lollies at CRU group, you just see a kid make a connection in scripture, or they pray a huge prayer out of nowhere. I think being a teenager is hard. Being a Christian teenager is doubly so. So even just coming along to CRU group for some of them is taking a stand.
I have a school CRU group and I go to that every Thursday lunchtime. CRU group really helped me to get into the habit of reading my Bible every day and praying, which in turn helped me to grow closer to God and Jesus.
A thing that really impacted me at my CRU group, my friend shared a story about how his grandma went through cancer and it was really hard for them, and it was super encouraging that he could stay strong in his faith and encourage all of us to do the same.
As a teacher, the week is incredibly busy. There are things that are going to last into eternity. A CRU group and the ministry that God might do will last.
Thank you for standing alongside students, equipping them through your support to stand up for Christ and to share the gospel with their friends.
CRU remains steadfast in its mission. Please join with us to help many more young people find unwavering hope in Jesus in the year ahead. Friends, whenever I speak at these events, people always afterwards say to me, "Gee, the other speakers were good." Simon again today, and particularly when we have students come along and join us. Now today, because of COVID, we haven't been able to bring in our student guest from northwest Sydney, but we'd still love you to meet Kai. He's your average teenage guy, not very outspoken in lots of ways, but there's real depth in what he's saying, so please enjoy listening to Kai now.
Good morning everyone. I hope you've been enjoying your breakfast. I'm sorry I can't be with you today in person, but I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share how God has changed my life through CRU. I didn't really grow up going to church and didn't know too much about God before my first crew camp. As the week went on, I realised there was more to camp than just fun activities and hanging out with mates. There was something and someone more important. Each day we heard talks about Jesus. I didn't know that much about him before, and I found myself wanting to know more. So I questioned my leaders endlessly, and they were really helpful at answering each and every question, explaining things to me that I didn't understand before. They never pushed me into making a decision, which I really appreciated. I also made some friends in my cabin who were committed Christians as well, and I saw how they were willing to put everything on the line for Jesus. I was so encouraged by their faith. So when it came to the last night of camp, I guess everything I'd learnt that week just hit me all at once. I realised that I needed Jesus in my life. So I read a few chapters of the Bible that night and prayed asking God into my heart. It was a life-transforming moment for me. I was buzzing to get back on another camp and was stoked when my dad let me sign up to go sailing at Lake Mac. Crew camps provided the perfect avenue for me to invite non-Christian friends along to hear the good news, and who better than my younger sister Ali. I knew the fun and exciting activities would get her to come along, the same way it did for me. So we packed our bags together and headed off to Crew Hype at the end of January this year. As the camp week went on, I saw Ali have the same realizations that I did last December. I saw the leaders and the talks help her to understand that she shouldn't reject God, but that she should follow him. I was also able to have some great conversations with her about who Jesus is. It filled me with overwhelming joy to be able to share this with her. At the end of the camp, I was so thankful to God when I found out that she had decided to make a commitment to follow Jesus. I'm so grateful to Crew and to you for your generous support, which is helping bring heaps of kids to Christ each year, like myself and my sister. I hope our story has encouraged you this morning. God bless you, and bye for now.
So I shared with you the nightmare before. What's my dream? My dream is seeing more kids like Olive and Grace and Kai and Ali and all the others who come along to crew groups, our educational camps, our crew holiday camps, our day camps, to see them growing in love with the Lord Jesus, relying on him and having that hope that is unwavering because it's based on his finished work. Seeing them all the more confident, reaching them with the good news of Jesus and seeing them grow. That's my dream. And we can make that happen. We can be involved in that. We can do that through our gifts and our prayers. Please commit yourselves to praying for the work of Crew. Please consider how you can support in a variety of ways, including now with your financial gifts.